This is not a test. This channel has interrupted its regular programming to provide disaster information not being readily reported. Important details will follow this tone.
We are being warned to keep an eye out for measles symptoms, with a man infected with the virus in Brisbane, Australia. It is the second confirmed case in the river city in as many days. The man, in his 40s, was unknowingly infected earlier this month, according to Metro North Public Health Unit. While unaware of being infected, the man had visited Brisbane International Airport, travelling between Sydney and Bali, and the Holy Spirit Northside Private Hospital. He was in those locations between March 1 and March 6. Initial measles symptoms include fever, a runny nose, red eyes, a moist cough and lethargy. It then appears as a red blotchy rash on the face and body. 10 patients complained of illness with mild symptoms after being inside a multi-level underground parking structure in Los Angeles, California. The Hazardous Materials Squad was unable to detect hazardous sources after a thorough sweep of the parking structure. All patients were treated, evaluated, and are being released on scene. More than 300 people died of the cholera epidemic in Ethiopia during the last 72 hours. Thousands are also at a life-threatening stage with no medicine or health support. Although most of the towns are affected, the disease is creating havoc in the rural areas, where there are no health facilities or emergency provisions. Villagers are reporting that families find their relatives dead in the remote areas while tending livestock. Some are found days later, mauled by wild animals. Both the federal government of Ethiopia and the regional administration are hiding the extent of the epidemic and are not providing the urgent help that is needed. Since November, it is conservatively estimated that more than 2,000 have died in the remote rural areas. The situation is further exacerbated by the drought and lack of adequate food or water, and people are so emancipated that anyone affected dies quickly. Ethiopian government has deprived the Somali people of the ability to buy medicine or food in neighboring countries, by ruthlessly imposing an undeclared embargo on trade and aid while barring access to international support and independent media. The Ethiopian government is committing a crime tantamount to genocide in preventing people from having access to medicine and food. An inhumane and heinous act. Around 300 workers of a South Korean garment factory in Vietnam's southern province were hospitalized with food poisoning after having lunch Thursday. The workers, nearly half of them, fell sick an hour after having lunch at the factory with chicken, eggs and cabbage. They vomited, suffered breathing difficulty, and many fainted. Hospitals and clinics in the area were overloaded and some workers had to lie on the floor. Some patients were put on respirators, with those in critical conditions being transferred to the city. Some workers said they spotted maggots in the chicken served during lunch. Interestingly enough, food poisoning in Vietnam usually involves school and factory meals and is one of the main reasons for workers' strikes. Legal action is not often taken. Last year, 129 food poisoning cases killed 12 people and affected around 4,000, based on figures from the health ministry. A day after a historic windstorm knocked out power to more than 1 million customers in Michigan and claimed 2 lives in Clare, communities were cleaning and setting up warming centers to help residents left in the dark as frigid temperatures settle in. More than 60 warming centers open across the state, in communities including the Grosse Pointes, Farmington Hills, Sterling Heights, Kenton, Warren and Detroit. In addition, the American Red Cross opened shelters in Jackson and Shiawassee counties. The city of Detroit planned to open 4 centers 24 hours a day for residents without power. About 515,000 customers were still without power at 9 p.m. Thursday. More than 800,000 of the utility's customers had lost power in the storm, and crews had restored power to more than 300,000 by Thursday night. Nearby locations experienced issues as well, with 121,490 customers still without power late Thursday. In Dearborn, the city was handing out dry ice to residents without power if they brought a container and proof of residency. In Clare, acting deputy director of the Michigan State Police and Homeland Security Division, said the windstorm killed 2 people when a tree fell on a car. And in Detroit, a woman and her 2 children, ages 6 and 1, were hospitalized for carbon monoxide poisoning Wednesday. The woman, 22, had been using a generator inside the home on Montrose on the city's west side. Officials announced today that they will not charge any fees for any storm-related permits needed in the event a structure damaged by winds needs to be demolished. Some communities were working with trash haulers to pick up tree branches, limbs and other debris at the curb in the windstorm's wake. Every corner of the state was affected by the storm. In fact, it has gone down as being the largest outage experienced in the state's history, with 1 million customers affected. 2 people have been killed and 2 others injured after a road bridge in Italy collapsed onto a motorway that ran beneath it. The bridge collapsed onto the A14 motorway near the city of Ancona on the Adriatic coast, in central Italy. The 2 people killed were a married couple whose car was crushed when the bridge came crashing down without warning. The 2 injured were road workers who were employed at the site. They were taken to a hospital in Ancona. Finally, the wheat blast disease, which first struck Brazil in 1985 and some other Latin American countries, which destroyed 7.4 million acres of cultivation, has now invaded India, affecting wheat crops into bordering districts. Around 2,000 acres have been affected thus far. Battling this disease has proven difficult as the fungus floats in the air and it can be carried from one pasture to another by cattle. Officials are recommending that farmers burn affected crops and are advising locals that this threat could take 2 or 3 years to contain. Thank you for tuning in. If you found this to be interesting, please like, share, and subscribe. While at it, post your thoughts on this and whatever else is on your mind below. If you like the social media thing, you can link to us via the standard allotted social sites in the description. Have a great day, guys. Stay safe.
This concludes this report of the emergency alert system. All normal programming operations may now resume.